Morning, Sensei.
Good morning, Michael. Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. I hope all of you are staying warm. When I got into my car this morning, the windshield was had ice on it. Um, I guess in some parts of the world that's not unusual, but here in San Jose, it's kind of takes a little while to get the windows warmed up enough that the ice kind of able to move around with the windshield wiper. I guess I could have scraped it, but no scraper. And of course, a putty knife would not work, but unless it's a plastic one. Anyway, I hope you are staying warm. We'll begin this morning's Dharma School service. If you would please join us in the reading of Sambajo, followed by Jusege. Okay, let's begin this morning's service. Namanda, 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 namanda.
시
if you would please join now in the reading of a golden chain. I am a link in Amida's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. I will be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Amida's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Good morning, and again, welcome to this morning's service. We have special guest speakers for this 9:30 service and our 10:10 service. We are fortunate to have with us for this morning's 9:30 service, Sumi Tanabe. Sumi has been a part of the Betsuing for a very long time. She has taught Dharma school. She has served in leadership capacities. She has helped with many projects through the Betsuing. She's also very heavily involved in the BCA. We had a long meeting just the other day with a committee meeting that was a BCA committee, and always involved with something. She's kind of, as we all are, at home, and so she comes to us this morning from her home to share with us the appreciation of Dharma. じゃあ、お願いします。
Thank you, Sensei. Good morning. This Dharma message is for Dharma school students today. I'm hoping that all of you are coping well in this pandemic and that you are doing okay. Good news is that the vaccines are on their way, and perhaps by mid-year next year, we could all be together again. Please join me in Gassho. With a pure heart, full of love, I will act towards others, exactly as I would act towards myself. A man is not a noble in that he works hard to living creatures. Whoso is harmless towards all living things, he is to be called a noble. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We recite the golden chain just like we did this morning every Sunday. And there is this sentence that we say, I will be kind and gentle to all living things and protect all who are weaker than myself. It does not say, I am kind and gentle to only humans. Living things include animals, plants, all things living, and not just humans. Do you have a pet? Our family has had many pets over the years. Our first pet, which my husband and I called our first son, was a poodle dog named Jacques. He was a very peppy dog. And after that, we had other dogs. One name was Shadow. The other one was Black-Eyed Susan. Shadow was a cross between a black Labrador and a Dachshund. I don't know how that came, but that's the way it was. And he had a very long body, black hair, but very short legs. Somehow, he was able to jump over the gate and walk blocks to where my middle daughter was in her classroom. She saw him, and I was amazed how he was able to find her in the classroom. We found out later that there's a crossbar on the gate, and he would jump on that crossbar and then jump over the gate. We also had cats. We had a rabbit named Cassie. We had a pet rat. And we had 3 guinea pigs, which were given as a gift from my husband's coworker, who had us babysit his 12 guinea pigs. And as a reward, we received 3. So one day I decided it's such a nice day, I'm going to give these guinea pigs a break. So instead of keeping them in their cages, I let them out to roam around in the backyard. And of course, I forgot about them. And the sun got hot that day, and those three guinea pigs died from heat stroke. It was through my neglect that those three cute little guinea pigs died. So we treat pets with love, but they in turn return that love unconditionally. It is so sad when a pet dies. My granddaughter dog Kippy is a small dog, and he had cancer all over his body. We didn't know how long he was going to live. He had shots and other medication to help him live longer. This was the dog that greeted me when I was discharged from the hospital. He had these big brown eyes, and he would seem to say, "Don't worry, you will recover." And so he was a great source of comfort. I don't know if you can see this, but that's Kippy. And sad to say, he passed away 2 days ago. And now on to plants. When I reflect upon my life, there are certain individuals that stand out. One was a woman named Davis. She was a tall woman, over 6 feet tall, looked very intimidating, but she was one of the few women administrators in the days of the 1960s. She never married, and I found out that her children were these African violets she had all over in her office. She had them on her desk, on my desk, in the conference room, and even in the bathroom. And one day I thought, who's in the conference room with the dean? I could hear this conversation. I peeked in, and there was Davis with her African violets talking to each one of them. She even had names for each of her 35, 40 African violets. And every time she would water them and clean them up and fertilize them, she would talk to them. And I would roll my eyes. But then I finally, over time, I understood why she loved these plants so much. They gave her immense joy, beauty, and peace and love. And so I will never forget this particular dean with her love of plants. In front of the Hondo, between the Hondo and the office building, we have kind of a small bamboo grove with a statue of Shinran. At home, when we bought this house, there was a bamboo hedge in our front yard. We had to get rid of it because it was encroaching on our neighbor's property. And so we tried to get rid of this bamboo. Have you ever tried to get rid of a bamboo plant? It's a very sturdy and strong plant. Each individual stalk looks individual, but if you go to the ground and dig up the bottom, you will find that each of those individual bamboo plant is tangled up with the other plant next to it. The roots are all tangled up together. You can squash this plant with your feet, but the plant will come right up. Some people have called the Japanese the bamboo people. They are saying that they are resilient because they move and have deep roots in family, generation after generation. The bamboo teaches us about interdependence. Driving over the Sierra Nevadas every month to my condo when I had it, to Carson City, I notice how little vegetation there is after I leave South Lake Tahoe. There's nothing but bushes, tiny, tiny little trees and rocks. One day I noticed that there was among these rocks a tree growing. And I thought, how strange. How could a tree grow in the rocks? I just surmised that probably under certain condition, a little seed fell into the crack of that rock, and under the right condition with the sun and the rain, it grew into a tree. Amazing. Every time I drive over that area, I try to slow down so I could see this sight. When I find myself being frustrated and irritated, I see that tree and my frustration and pain go away. I've always loved trees. Unfortunately, during the last several years, we've had many wildfires and thousands of trees have been destroyed. But have you noticed some of them are coming back to life? As a child, my favorite poem was about a tree. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree by Joyce Kilmar. Queen Maya leaned against a tree before she gave birth, and Siddhartha himself sat under the Bodhi tree and when he attained enlightenment. Have you heard about the Jataka tales? They are a body of Indian literature concerning the previous birth of Gautama Buddha. The Buddha is not depicted in just human forms, but in animal forms. Many of these stories are in the form of animals' fables that teach something about morality, not unlike Aesop fables. When we recite the Golden Chain, please remember that all living things include plants and animals, anything living. They sustain our lives by giving up their lives so that we have food and are able to live. Now, please join me in Gasho. Thank you is a universal expression by all people. In English, we say thank you. In French, they say merci. In Spanish, they say gracias. In German, they say danke. In Japanese, they said arigato. In Italian, they say grazie. These words may sound different to our ears, but the feeling of the words is the same. It is expressing a feeling of gratitude. The Buddhist way to say thank you is to say the Nimbutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Sumi. Uh, Thank you for that wonderful message. Um, we are reminded of how deeply connected we are. Again, thank you for that message. This concludes this morning's service. Next week, we will continue with our 9:30 service. Next week and the following week, we'll have a Dharma message. Next week will be by Mr. Dennis Akizuki will be our speaker for the 9:30 service. So please plan to join us for the next 2 weeks. Although Dharma School will not be held, these services will continue over the next few weeks. So if you are unable to join us, we hope that you have a wonderful holiday. Christmas is this week already, and the following week already on New Year's. On New Year's Eve, we have a 7:30 Joyaye service. And on New Year's Day, we have our Shushoye, New Year's Day service at 10 o'clock. These two services, an opportunity again to hear the teachings of the Buddha and to join together and to express our appreciation for the Nembutsu, to share with one another in these challenging times and to be reminded of how deeply connected we are with one another. Again, thank you very much for joining us this morning. There is a 10:10 service that follows shortly, and Michael Jones will join us for that service as our guest speaker. Will you please join in Gasho as we bring this service to a close. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everyone. school?
Yeah, I was like a blanket, so I always had to run around. It's been fun for next year.
If you run the air conditioner and the heater, at first there's a smell, but then eventually it goes away.
Oh, really?
And the more you use it, the more.
Dust is going away everywhere.
Each apartment is clean, so all the apartments are clean. Yes. Otherwise, you're putting someone in the apartment the next door. So I'm pretty sure also. Ohayou gozaimasu. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning service. Hope everybody's doing well. This morning we have as our speaker for Michael Jones will give the Dharma message this morning. Earlier at our 9:30 service, we had Sumi Tanabe give the Dharma talk in that service. Over the next few weeks, we'll continue to have this 10:10 service as well as the 9:30 service, although Dharma school will be closed on the 27th and on the 3rd. We will continue to have services on those days. So please plan to join us if you can. We'll begin today's service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by Sambutsuge. Sambutsuge. If you please join in the reading of the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of thy doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Again, good morning, and thank you for joining us for this morning service. We have as our guest speaker this morning, Michael Jones. Michael has been a part of our Beijing for a very long time. He has served in a leadership capacity. He has helped also on the district level and nationally as well. But he is a student of the Dharma, as all our MAs are, and he is currently enrolled in the second semester of the Jodo Shinshu correspondence course. And recently he expressed an interest in pursuing ordination, the Tokudo ordination. We are happy to have Michael here this morning. Onegaishimasu.
ありがとうございます、先生。Please join me in Gasho. I listened to them, smiled, nodded, agreed, understood, comforted. But when I opened my mouth to speak, nobody listened but the silence. For now I have learned that people expect to be listened to, yet they refuse to listen themselves. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I want to talk to you about moving on, which is a subject of some importance these days. This year, 2020, has been one that many of us look forward to putting behind us. Between COVID pandemic, the racial tensions, and the presidential campaign and election, there have not been a lot of things to smile about. Probably couldn't see the smiles if they were there through the masks. The common thread to much of what has happened in the United States this year has been division. It seems that every headline, every news story, every talking point has created another opportunity for someone to tell us which side we belong on. No longer are the talking heads satisfied to report on events and tell us where they stand. Now they tell us where we stand as well. Blanket statements are made about Democrats, Republicans, right-wing, left-wing, white people, people of color, Christians, non-Christians. The list of oppositions goes on. Now that the presidential election appears to have been decided, we would like to move on. Why can't everyone just accept the results, whether they're happy with them or not, and move on? Why can't we just have our peaceful transition of power that we've had for the past 2 centuries? Recently, a friend posted the following on Facebook. Perhaps the reason that some people can't accept the election results is that they feel that they're losing something more than an election. We will not start to heal until we understand what they feel that is. This is our chance to model empathy. My friend, Brad Boydston, is actually a high school classmate who is now a minister in Florida. I think Brad made a brilliant observation. There have been plenty of hateful remarks thrown from every point along the political spectrum. Though there are always people who are disappointed with the results of any election, and some who even feel that there was something unfair about it, generally, our elected officials and our community and religious leaders encourage us to accept the results, move on, and to look to the next cycle to get our candidate into office, but not this time. The hate rages, the accusations fly, tempers boil. But what of my friend's point? Can we move on by trying to better understand the emotions and sense of loss of those who feel wronged by the results of the election? I will not try to convince anyone to change their beliefs on either side of the debate. I'm not looking for you to accept arguments that say that this election was rigged, stolen, highly fraudulent. What I will ask you to open up your mind to is that there are others that feel a genuine loss based on the outcome. They feel that a trust has been violated. You've often heard our sensei, on many occasions, suggest that judging others is not consistent with the teachings of the Buddha. We do not necessarily know or fully understand the causes and conditions that brought another person to their current situation or their current view of the world. What we do know is that they are suffering. They are feeling that their voice will no longer be heard and possibly that their way of life is going to be threatened. For you, these people that I'm referring to may be just people on a TV screen. People from a state you don't live in, a city to which you've never been, a town where you have no desire to visit. Or this could be a friend, a distant relative, a part of your immediate family, even your spouse. How do we help them? How do we help our family? How do we help our community, our society, our nation? We look to Amida for wisdom and compassion, and we would like to believe we could be also a source of wisdom and compassion. My suggestion at this point is that the greatest wisdom that we could show is to allow compassion to be our guide. Any attempt to demonstrate wisdom in this environment is likely to be met with contempt and seen as hubris on our part. After all, is it really hard to imagine how people might be feeling right now? If you're one of the people feeling really good about the results of this year's election, think back to how you were feeling 4 short years ago at this time. Were you really feeling like you were at the end of a game between friends? Saying things like, nice game, good win. You really played that well. Maybe I'll do better next time. Or were you feeling like something was not quite right? Did something or someone get in the way of a fair outcome? Don't think in terms of the extreme reactions. Just try to consider how those not on the winning side might be feeling. What do they believe will happen next? How will their lives be negatively impacted by this result? You don't know the answers? That's not a surprise. So now comes the hard part, listening. We have to listen to understand. And it's important to realize you're not trying to resolve their suffering or fix the problem from their perspective. You're just trying to show them that they are being heard. The important point is to listen to understand, not so that you can fix it, resolve it, or make the cause of their suffering disappear. And it's quite likely you can't do any of that. So what can you do? Don't gloat, listen. Don't try to shame them with annoying phrases like, now you know how I felt, or it's your turn to suffer through the other guys being in charge, or many other things that you could say like that. Ask questions and listen. Ask clarifying questions to understand. Don't judge or ridicule their responses. They are not wrong to your right. They have a different view. Don't try to fix the situation or change their minds. Listen, understand their point of view. These are all acts moving to empathy. And let's not confuse empathy with sympathy. They don't want or need your sympathy. In fact, sympathy in their view may belittle their feelings. Sympathy can sometimes come off as looking down on someone who's in a lesser place, and that's not the situation here at all. As you begin to listen with no judgment and with no attempt to fix their pain, solve their problems, or change their way of thinking, you should also not expect reciprocity. That is, don't expect them to return the favor or return the behavior. That should never be a condition of your empathy. If you have trouble with this process, don't be hard on yourself. Dr. Lauren Ladner points out that we do not learn how to understand and empathize with each other. Breakdowns in communications, in empathy, and in love occur in our communities, family, marriages, and friendships every day. Who hasn't felt at some point in some relationship utterly uncertain how to proceed? Ladner goes on to advise that in order to improve your ability to empathize, you have to begin by learning to calm and focus your own mind. This makes sense because if your mind is caught up in its typical focus on your own thoughts and sensations, how would it be able to focus on empathizing with someone else's situation? Interestingly, we can actually experience joy from our efforts to be empathetic. This is known as sympathetic joy. The Buddha used the term mudita to define sympathetic joy. According to Sharon Salzberg, when we open to the suffering of beings, the joy at the heart of compassion complements the joy of mudita that arises when we open to their happiness. Compassion brings us closer together. I wouldn't be surprised if some of you are thinking, why should I make the first move here? Or where were they the last 4 years when they knew how much these events troubled me? These are fair points and reasonable questions. And I couldn't blame anyone for thinking this way, and I understand the thought process. But the problem is that this position does nothing to move us forward and actually just intensifies the debate. And let's not get on the high horse of martyrdom either. Okay, I'll be the bigger person. I'll take the high road, even though they never did. That attitude, which again is understandable, would probably result in you sounding quite insincere in your efforts to portray an empathetic listener. For this to be helpful, your goal must be to better understand, not to agree, not to provide sympathy, and not to resolve the pain. Just listen and understand. Being heard is a big deal. As human beings, we really shut down when we don't think people are hearing us. When we think they don't care about our pain or our point of view, while we might like it better if everyone agreed with us, as boring as that might be, it would be a wonderful world if people would just take the time to hear me out and understand my point of view. Don't be that person who insists on being listened to. Insist on being the person who listens. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Thank you for listening. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you all in the new year. Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you, Michael. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. In this time, there is so much opportunity for us to do things. Maybe not in the same way that we have in the past, but there's certainly a great need out there that we can still be a part of, to still reach across to one another, extend a helping hand in whatever way we might be able to. Thank you, Michael, for your message this morning, and I want to thank Sumi Tanabe as well for who spoke at the earlier 9:30 service. We will continue to have services, 9:30 service and 10:10 service on the 27th and on January the 3rd. There will be no Dharma school on those 2 Sundays, but we will have the 9:30 service and the 10:10 service on both of those days. Next week, our speaker for the 9:30 service will be Dennis Akizuki, and I will be the 10:10 service speaker. So please come and join us for that. Following the 27th will be on the 31st, our Joyaye service, the New Year's Eve service, and it will be virtual, so don't show up at the steps of Hondo. Mikami Sensei and I will conduct the service here from the Hondo, and we will be responsible for doing the Joyaye no Kane, ringing the Kansho 108 times. I'll count for Mikami Sensei if she tries to. So we'll take turns doing the Joyaye no Kane. So please join us for that. That's at 7:30 on New Year's Eve. And on New Year's Day at 10 o'clock, we'll conduct the New Year's Day service. And during the New Year's Day service, we will also install officers, organizations of the Betsui. So we'll get that all organized, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for those services. Again, the next 2 weeks, regular services, 9:30 and 10:10, although no Dharma school service. And then on Joyaye service on the 31st at 7:30, and on the 1st of January 2021, our New Year's Day service at 10 o'clock. Thank you, everyone. Be well, stay safe. I hope to see you again soon. Please, Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.